It's time for Recipe of the Day. So this is actually a homemade version of that classic Lipton onion soup dip that classically goes with rippled chips. This is the homemade version. And I'm just going to say that this recipe is actually very versatile. Once you know how to make this basic homemade French onion dip, you can then go in with all kinds of different flavors. I really like to use lots of fresh herbs in this one, or you could chop up some roasted red peppers, sun-dried tomatoes, like wherever you want to go with it. Once you have the basic ratios of like the sour cream, the onion, the salt, then the sky is the limit. Okay, let's dive into making this wonderful dip. So this one starts with caramelizing some onions. I will say that quite often people caramelize onions until they're like really, really soft and sweet. They even add sugar sometimes. We're not going to do that here because we're not actually going for extreme sweetness. We want the softness. We want a little bit of that sweetness, but not as much. Okay, so what you're doing is 2 tablespoons of olive oil in a big skillet over medium heat with 2 medium to large regular onions, and you want them chopped, not sliced, because you want those little bits that are going to spread through the dip. You don't want like big long strings in your dip, right? That would not be good at all. Now, we are not using sweet onions here. I know I often use sweet onions in things. These are just regular cooking onions because you do want that little bit of that harshness, right? No sweetness here. Okay, those chopped onions are going into your skillet with the warm olive oil over medium heat for about 3 to 4 minutes until they're softened, but not really starting to darken again. Then you're reducing the heat down to low and putting a lid on it. If you don't have a lid that fits your skillet, you could use a big piece of aluminum foil, or I actually like to use like a big baking sheet. That'll work really well too. Just remember that that baking sheet is hot. So when you go to take it off of the pan later, you need to have oven mitts on. Okay, so you're covering that skillet and you're cooking them over low heat, stirring occasionally until they're soft and brown and a little squishy. It's going to be about 20 to 25 minutes. While that is going on, you're going to put 1.5 cups of sour cream into a medium-sized bowl. Now you can use full-fat sour cream here, or you can use light or fat-free, whatever you like the flavor of, because we're not using this in any kind of like baking or cooking. It's not being heated, so it doesn't really matter in terms of like its fat content, any of the things that we normally worry about with any kind of sour cream or yogurt that it might separate or split. That's not going to matter here because it's staying cold. All that's going to matter is if you like how it tastes. Okay, so into that sour cream, you're going in with some garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. I know it sounds crazy that we added all those onions and we're also doing onion powder, but the onion powder has that like hot bite to it, so does the garlic powder, that you're not going to get from those softened onions that we're cooking. You see what I mean? So you want both of those onion flavors going on. You're also using 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Mix that all up. Then, once your onions are cooked, you're going to stir that into your sour cream mixture. You can cool it first if you want to, especially if you're going to be serving it right away, but you don't have to. You could just add them in warm, give it a stir, taste, see how the salt is. You might want to add a little bit more, and then you are refrigerating that until it's time to serve. Get out a bag of rippled chips and dig in. I will put the link to this recipe in the show notes for this podcast episode, or you can head to cookthestory.com/ROTD and get it there. Everything there is arranged by date, so it's helpful to know that today is January 26th of 2025. And if you are looking for more great dip ideas for all these game days, head to cookthestory.com and search for dip. There you will see there's so many. There's that hot hamburger dip with real cheese, an easy beer cheese dip, a smoked trout dip, crab cake dip. Oh, the lox dip is one of my favorites. It's like smoked salmon and canned salmon. Everybody always asks me for the recipe for that one. Oh, the classic taco dip is there, jalapeno popper dip. So many tasty, tasty dips for your game days. Head to cookthestory.com and search for dip. I am Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great day. Let's get cooking.